Welcome to a very special live masterclass coming to you direct from Point Blank Music School here in Hoxton, East London. My name's Luke Hopper and today I'm joined here in the studio by DJ, producer and label boss Riva Starr to discuss his new album and to get an insight into his work in the studio. It's also your chance to ask any questions and to get involved, so you guys watching at home, make sure you do post in the chat room and we'll be putting your questions forward at the end of the session. So Riva is an East London based Italian with a sound that's truly his own. He's released on the likes of Made to Play, Dirty Bird, Southern Fried, and has remixed for the likes of The Gossip, Estelle, Plan B and Wiley. He's also got his second album due to drop in the coming months. So yeah, we're very, very pleased to welcome along Riva Starr. Let's give him a round of applause.
Ciao.
So welcome along.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for calling me.
First up, I wanted to ask about the new album. Hand in Hand, it's set to drop in the summer, right, I think?
Should be 20th of May.
Okay, cool. So can you give us any kind of insight into what to expect from this album?
Well, it took me like probably 2 years to make it proper, because I started straight after the release of my first one. It's pretty different because I thought, the first one had a lot of club tracks, and when we dropped the album, even though I Was Drunk was very successful, has been very successful, I found a lot of tracks, just a lot of tracks got lost,
right?
In translation when we just released everything on Beatport, and it's probably normal because the attention can be the same for each track of your album. So I thought if I want to make an album now and I want to step up in what I'm doing, and because I come from a very musical background, I thought I just work with musicians. I try to do something different, and then maybe I'm gonna do club mixes and extended versions and remixes. So that's why.
Yeah, I think it does show through. I was going to say about the new single. Definitely has a kind of more sort of mature sound to it, or a slightly more indie-ish or musical sound to it. Is that the case,
Yes.
with the album as a whole?
That's the perfect example of how it's gonna be. I come before I was doing club music. I was doing dub master for some dub electronic projects, bands in Italy, and I did 2 albums with Virgin and Edel in Italy.
Okay.
So I have a long, let's say, experience in just working with musicians and bands. So I thought that this could be the case, with my second album, and because I'm releasing it on my label and we are licensing it in a few other countries, I just thought, I'm the label boss. I decide what I want to do. I wouldn't say to myself that this is not good because it's not going to sell like I Was Drunk or whatever. So I just do what I like. I'm putting my own money on it. I've been working hard for the last 2 years, gigging around. So now I'm able, to invest in my own projects and do my own things.
And it's, it sounds to me it's not your kind of typical dance music producer makes an album of dance tracks. It's a much more complete body of work. It's more of an album.
Yeah, I don't want it to sound too pretentious, though. I'm just, having fun and doing what I like to do. I've always been like this, because if I have to make music, I have to, feel the fun when I make music, same when I DJ. So I have to do what I like. And, I find nowadays that more and more producers just are, their productions are, business driven or social media driven or hype driven. Hype driven. For me, it's like death, if I start thinking that way, for me, it's over. And I want to be completely honest with you, when I did I Was Drunk, and a few successful remixes like the Dennis Ferrer reboot one, and I got lots of offers from major labels, with big bands, and even super cheesy tracks that were out of my kind of range. But I thought, let's do it, let's try and capitalize in a way, and then I was getting bookings even in some weird places and stuff. So when you do 200 gigs a year, run a record label, trying to make new stuff, and traveling most of all. I had a son, a kid, so basically, sometimes you just lose the focus. And then last year I just stopped for a while. I took a month off and thought, okay, no, let's step back. I just want to do what I like. So I just had to think about everything and then wrapped it up again and then started from scratch. Even with the label now, I found myself just saying yes to some releases I was not pretty sure of. Not that they are bad, but still, you know, after I had a good thinking about it, I thought, okay, no, let's just start from scratch and make it. I mean, after all, I'm a human being. Everyone can just, you know, lose the focus in a while, and then if you manage.
And you've been doing it a long time, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So I was also going to ask the track, the new single, Absence. That's features Robert Searle, is it, as well, on vocals? Russell, yeah.
He used to be the singer of the Research.
Okay.
And basically my manager was managing them as well, so he put me in touch with this guy, and we became friends straight after. So he's a super good, super nice guy. He's a really good artist. I'm really picky when it comes with vocals, of course. I really like vocals, but I'm really picky, and he's got the right amount of weirdness.
Okay. And do you have many more collaborations on the album?
He does basically probably 70% of the tracks.
Okay.
He also plays guitars, so there's a psychedelic track, like 10 minutes track. Where it's like the Fairy Maggot funkadelic, kind of style. And yeah, I have like 2 or 3 more collaborations with Roots Manuva.
Okay, cool.
Speech the Bell, and I did one with Ora Sandy. It took a long time to get him to the studio, but then when we managed, it's been a great experience. And I have some specials for the Italian versions with Carmen Consoli and Vinicio Capossela. Those are 2 of the main, indie alternative artists, if alternative means something.
Yeah.
And I've always dreamt about, having a collaboration with them, and I managed to do that. So I'm gonna drop those tracks in the summer. Actually, Seth Roxley is playing this Vinicio Capossela track, which is kind of fun because I know that it's hard, for some Italian sounding songs in terms of vocals to go out, of the
to break out of
Italy. So it was pretty fancy and good to see, him playing, like this kind of tracks. So
and I think he's a great person. He does have amazing taste and quite a taste for the weirder and the, stuff that other people might not pick up on. So it's a good thing to see.
So I take it as a compliment. Let's see.
So let's talk about your studio, your work in the studio. So I know that you use quite a lot of outboard gear. You've brought along, I think, a couple of projects today.
Yeah. So basically, all of you here could just teach me way more than I know about plugins and stuff, because I really use very little plugins and not all the time. I love the D16, the Polish one, most of all the Decimort and the Devastator. Devastator. I like Devastator better. And I use the UAD too. I love the Voice of God. It's one of my favorite plugins. It's just so good for the bass and the vocals as well. And I have some nice plugins from Native Instruments. I really like the Transient Masters. I think that's miracles. It's way better than the SPL from my point of view. So say that I don't use that many plugins, and I have pretty much everything going through my console, my mixer. It's called ADT Audio. And it's the ex-Telefunken from the 70s, so it's all handmade. So I have some pictures here. I can show you a video, actually. Can I? Okay, so this is basically, sorry, I'm a really bad video maker. So basically, I got a distressor on the bottom, which I use for bass and kick drums sometimes in a very extreme way. And then I got like this summing mixer, which is like a full desk basically without the faders. I got 2 different summings, one for the drums and one for the vocals effects, and 4 basses. So I can just spread the channels on all these channels and on all these basses. And I think this is one of the secrets if you want to have like a punchy sound. Like spreading the channels in the right way just gives more breadth to your mix probably, and depth. And then of course I have the SSL bass compressor for the drums. Okay, this is the full thing. I have an old Rosetta just to come back from the mixer into the digital domain, and a new Aurora 16. It's the 16 channels I use for mixing. And so I spread everything through these channels. You know, at the very bottom, you got to the left, the 4 buses. So on the first bus, I use drums. Second bus, I use synths and whatever. The third one is for the bass, and the fourth one for the effects and stuff. So I've got pretty much control of everything. And then I can change for each channel on the second and third line, you know, like gain, pop-pot, aux, whatever. Okay. So I got full control. And then I have like a master strip where I can use EQ, a very good EQ, a very extreme limiter, an elliptic equalizer that allows me to put everything in mono underneath a certain frequency. Right. So underneath 300 hertz, I just put everything in mono, and it sounds punchier in terms of, you know, sub frequencies.
And is this always the way you've worked with quite a lot of
Yeah, since the beginning. I used to have like an old Studer, you know, the broadcast one as well, and with a very punchy limiter, but it was just, it needs recapping all the time. So I just went for this. This is a newly made, but you know, in the old school way with the right elements. And the main engineer and owner is like 75 years old, and he's still doing it pretty much with his heart. So it's good. And then, you know, my secret weapon and my life has changed is the speakers. I just bought the Barefoot 1 year ago. Which is like the best thing I have done, you know, like in terms of purchasing equipment, and it just changed my life. And actually the first thing I did with the Barefoot was this track from this side project I did for Dirty Bird. It's called Genghis Clan, and the track is called Ah Shit, and because of the sample, and I'll show you in a minute. So the good thing of these speakers is that you have woofer on both sides, you know. So the balance of the speaker, even if they are very heavy, it's well done, it's well balanced, and it's so precise and accurate on bass as well. And then I have like small speakers like the Genelex, and then I have like Native Instrument sound card connected to this one actually, and then I put Ableton in recording mode, and I'm listening to the mixes through the laptop speakers as well. Okay. When I mix vocals and stuff, so I have like another output, another speaker's output from my desk, and I just get into the Native Instrument sound card, and I listen to the tracks.
So you're always referencing on the terrible laptop speakers.
Yeah. Mostly when I do vocals and balancing, you know, the whole instruments, it's really helpful. The shittiest it sounds, the better.
I guess if you can make it sound good on that, you're in a good spot.
Yeah. It's pretty much why Ableton and the old NS10 were, you know, so useful, and still definitely are. So that's pretty much it.
And Ableton is your sequencer of choice?
Yeah, I used to live with Logic, and then I used to work with both, but it's pretty annoying that because I work while I travel, so with Ableton it's so easy. When I come back to the studio, I have to convert all the VST plugins and stuff to Logic and stuff, and I find now Logic like an elephant, like old elephant. And because I use the Ableton just as a sequencer, and I do the mix downs on my mixer, I don't really need like a good bouncing, you know, you know.
You don't need the sound engine on Logic.
I don't need the sound engine. So sometimes I do some, you know, stems bounce on there, but I work totally on Ableton now. Okay. UAD, and that's another synth I have from the 90s. Is my SH101. I do most of the basses with it. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much my workflow.
At the projects that you brought along. Can you talk us through?
Yeah, I brought 2 projects. This Ah Shit thing. Can I say shit?
Yeah, you can say shit. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Which is a very simple track, and it's quite there's quite a fine story behind it. Well, let's just listen. So this is a pretty basic and simple track. It's pretty much based on the that vocal and some tight drums and a very sub bass. And that's the first track I did with the new speakers, and that was really helpful because, you know, when I was listening to this track on the Genelec, it was like, oh, that's okay, that's cool. But then with those speakers, I could feel, you know, the vibe in the club, the actual vibe, and what it could do in a, you know, in a good club. So basically, it's very simple. I didn't even use any major plugin. Basically, all the live native plugins plus a couple of Decimort and Devastators on the drums. The bass has been made with this. Here you go. It's just a kick from an 808. I just use most of the time the Gold Baby plugins, the samples. They're amazingly well done, and they are way above all the average 808 sample specs. So I would strongly suggest to get those because the guy is amazing. So this is just pitched down, and then so this is the original is something like. You wouldn't expect a good bass from this sound, but then if you pitch it down, and you know, it's pretty punchy. Someone is complaining already. I'm not even using the barefoot. I used to have a lot of complaints even in my studio. Sorry. And then if you want to make it more interesting, I always try and make different layers for the bass. And I don't know what that is. We should sample it. So it's one punt to the left and one to the right, which gives a bit more breath to the bass and it makes it a bit more interesting. And then in the second part, one of the two basses, the one to the left, just goes with a pitch, so you have some variations.
So you have a bit of movement in it.
Yeah. So you have like extra feel of the bass because it's very subby. If you have some mid frequencies, you know, filtering it in a different way, you have more dynamic. And then some other loops, like a basic loop just to get an extra shuffle. This is a 909 tom just to give extra. This is interesting. This like hats loop, which is coming from like a real drums, and then I put some gates because the original is okay. This is the original. So the funny thing is that if I use the gate without the compressor, you got a kick drum. But because I put a heavy compressor on top, it just becomes, you know, hats and this offbeat snare drum, which adds some interesting grip to the full beat. And then the kick drum. Okay, here I've used an enormous amount of snare drums. I usually use one or two, but I don't know, I was just having fun with it. I was, I guess, too much excited about the new sample pack. It was like, I can't miss this, I can't miss this. But everything has its own sound, so it's... So everyone is contributing to have like his own sound. Pen potting everything makes everything more interesting. And again, I just put some like distortion on the EQing. I don't even know how to use the EQ properly. I mean, if you ask me what's the rule of the right EQing of a sound of a snare drum, I don't know. I just work. I mean, when I bring my Ableton songs to my mastering engineer, he's like, you really EQing this guy in this way, because sometimes I tend to exaggerate. But if it sounds good to me, I don't think there's any rule unless you want to do clean, soft rock pop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you get a bit of grit in there. I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, I try and you know, do my own sounds. And also with the kick drum, I always play and try and get one or two kick drums to get a different feel. So even with this one, which sounds pretty tough, it's two kick drums. One more for the subs, and one more for the attack. And then when they work together, they sound pretty good. And the funny story behind this track is that when I took this Lil Jon sample, Another interesting thing is how I treated the vocals. I use simpler a lot, but because I like to work on different sounds on each channel, and then do the compression, EQing, whatever. In this particular track, I just stretched to the extreme the voice of the the A at the beginning, and I put some reverbs just to make the whole stretch thing a bit more interesting. So all this long thing is just the A of the original sample, which is quite short.
Well, you've not like kind of automated that. That's just a stretched.
Yeah. And then if you go to the audio section, of course, I've done some transpose to make it, but I think I've stretched it like 4 or 5 times till I could, and have it like a good, effects for the breakdown. But then, of course, you can do it in a different way as well. I mean, if you have like, for instance, let's say this vocal sample here. If you use the sample, let's say you put a loop, you put the length of the sample short. It's this one. Is it some? Okay. So if you get a sample, you can do it in a different way as well. So you just can move the start, do a very short loop and move the start. And then after you can just do some transpose and add some extra, reverb. I mean, it's up to you. This is the old school way of making it when I was using back in the days, the 950s, and we had just like very short memories. We used to do, this kind of stuff. It's like all the French houses born. I was talking to Snake, and he was just telling me the way he was doing records back in the days was just amazing. It's like, man, we had just a few things to work with, so we had to find the right way to make it happen. And sometimes, if you have less, that's why I don't like to work that much with plugins most of the time, because I like to be creative with what I have, and when it gets too complicated, when there's too much offer from me, like in terms of plugins and samples and stuff, I just get lost. So I want to go nice and punchy and make the best of what I have. And at the end of the day, if you are creative, you can do very good things even with the basic.
And some of the best records ever have been made with very little resource.
I mean, for me, like the simplest things are the best. So at least this is my style. So I'm finally talking about this funny thing of this track. So basically, the vocals come from Lil Jon, and basically these vocals have been made for the Pon de Floor track, the Major Lazer, because Diplo sent me all the parts for a remix. I ended up doing another one, Jump Up, if I'm not wrong, because this one was like everywhere. So I thought like, there's no point to make another remix. But this acapella just, I don't know why, remained on my hard drive. I don't know why, it's not my fault. So if you listen to it carefully, there should be...
Give me the wine!
That's that much hated. Okay.
Give me the wine!
So I just used the track, and then I spoke to Barclay, Claude Monstroke, and we are both friends with Diplo, and we just gave him a call and saying, hey motherfucker, can we say? And the guy was okay, no worries. So he's a good guy. So that's a funny story behind this one, and it's pretty cool. And it was a good track, so I'm pretty happy with it. And it's a full side project that I'm gonna just keep on doing after my album. So this is pretty interesting. The second track is Absence, of course. And that's more on the way I work with real instruments and real vocals. So the concept behind this track is that I started from the sample, which is like an old Bollywood soundtrack sample. From Asha Bhosle. Actually, I'm getting big in India at this moment, present moment. Because one of my best friends there, who actually is a very famous MTV presenter, he's called Nick Hill. He just put the track in his Defected in the House compilation there, and people is just getting crazy because there's this Asha Bhosle sample the voice, and she's the most famous singers of all the time. She's not like a million songs. I'm not joking, millions. Like they do millions movies. They do even do million soundtracks. And so I started with this sample. I put some extra violin stops to make it a bit more interesting in terms of. I got some extra samples like violins.
So does that sample started it off? That was the kind of inspiration behind it?
Yeah, I started from the sample, and then I really wanted to have the beat in a kind of cool old Motown sounding way. So I got some samples. I really look, when I have to use a loop, like a full loop, not just simple sounds, I try and get some good and original loops as well if possible. So let me see. I managed to find this one, which is pretty cool. Let me see. So this is basically making my loop, and then everything on top is just extra claps and stuff. But I started from this one and the original sample. Then Russell sent me the vocals. Then we had a chat about how the arrangement could be, and then he came up with these amazing guitars. They're following the vocals and making their own hook. And then we thought this could go a bit more like noirish psychedelic as well. So we had some extra guitars as well. Show this one. And actually there's a part we didn't use, which is a psychedelic solo. She's still here. We're probably gonna do like a different version after. And
it has got that kind of cool, creepy vibe to it. It's really good.
And even here, I haven't used that many plugins. I just bounced everything in. I just grouped everything, all the drum sounds in one group. Not even spreading snares and hats, because I thought it could sound better in that way. So it's nice and punchy, simple. And that's it. I took the original sample and I made the bass as well. This is French house style. So the original is strong sidechain. I love sidechain. And that's the bass. The funny thing is that I took the original sample from a very crappy MP3. It happened to me more than once that when you use a sample from an MP3, maybe download it from a blog or like whatever, it sounds better than if you try to replace the sound or the original track with a wave. I did a track when I was doing the Maddox project with a Lenny Kravitz sample, took from a very crappy MP3, and Plump DJs went mad for it, and they wanted to put it in their album. And so I tried to just make it polite, like polish all the mix and stuff, and just use the wave, and it was sounding crap. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna stick to the MP3, and that was because it was, I don't know, probably the way it was treated and encoded and stuff is pretty much for me the same concept as we were using the 950s, the sound, not in the 950s, I'm not that old, but the Akai samplers, the way, because there was not much memory, the way they were, processing the samples when you were sampling from vinyl and stuff. It was just making them punchier. And so probably sometimes I like to work, even with strangely encoded samples, because you can get some extra harmonics or kind of lo-fi sound.
Some texture comes out of it. We've got actually a couple of questions in the chat room. Vinny has asked about the sample, the breaks you used on the Marina and the Diamonds remix. It said that there's a part that's really stretched out. He's asked about the break on that.
I can't even remember now. Let me see if it's a vocal sample.
On the Marina and the Diamonds remix, what plugin or technique did you use on the breaks that stretched out?
Oh, here you go. We got it here. Let's see. Actually, this is a funny story as well. Sorry about it. I guess I can say it now because they've been releasing the whole album already, right?
Yeah.
So basically, they asked me to do this remix. I thought, okay, let's have fun with it. And I basically turned the lyrics into a blowjob request. So basically, when they put the video of my remix on YouTube, you can actually have a look. They were just hating on me because they were like huge fans. You can't do this to Marina, and there were a few people just having a big fat old laugh, you know. So basically, and I used the vocoder. I can't remember, probably the Ableton one.
I've got a big ego. Get down on your knees for me. I've got a big ego. Get down on your knees for me. I've got a big ego.
He's got a big ego. So let's go to the breakdowns.
I've got a big ego.
It's just like same concept as before. I'm using simpler, and then I have like a snare drum, and then the snare drum loop goes, you know, shorter and shorter, and then I add some transpose along the whole break, and then I add some delay or reverb. It's up to you, whatever you want to do, and you got this effect.
Just before we kind of reach time, have you got any questions in the room, guys, at all?
I do.
Yeah.
I know that there's always someone who's got some questions.
Hi, how you doing? My question is more about the music industry. How did you get your first release?
The Riva Starr one, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a funny story. It was basically in 2005 or 6, and MySpace was getting bigger and bigger, and I was changing from Maddox, the project Maddox, to the Riva Starr thing, and I was overexcited by the new productions of Claude Monstroke, Jesse Rose, and all that crew, and I was like, I love this shit. Can I say shit?
Yes, you can say shit. I've said it a few times now.
I just want to make sure I don't want to cause any problems. So I just sent the tracks I was doing to Claude Monstroke and Jesse through MySpace, and they actually, in particular, Claude Monstroke just answered me back straight away. So that's how the first release happened, and I didn't tell them that I was doing Maddox. It was quite a good project, you know, like I was playing worldwide, but then I decided to stop, and then I still remember that when I moved to London in April 2007, I just stopped with Maddox, and I was playing in Tokyo, and then I was moving all my shit to London, and then the week after I was playing in a pub for £50 as Riva Starr. I was starting from scratch. So yeah, that's it. So actually, if I can, let me see. Well, always I have like this video of me playing as Maddox in Tokyo. It was like the Halloween kind of party.
Right.
So everyone dressed like Power Rangers. Myself as well with this laser sword, you know.
And then you were back to a pub in London.
Yeah, and doing some after parties as well.
Right.
So yeah, but in that way. But you know, around that time, MySpace was not too much a big thing, you know, like so I could even still talk to, you know, big people in an easier way. Now it's very difficult because you know there's
Yeah.
a lot of boost of all these socials.
Any more questions, guys?
Oh yeah, just any advice you've got really for, you know, putting the track out, you know, how you go about it for sort of, you know, people like us that are relatively fresh to it really and want to make a career in it.
Okay, of course all the usual things that you have to work hard in, but for me the main thing is that you have to be original. Not because you have to be original by all means, but because being original means that you have your own sound. You will never be appreciated by everyone on earth, and that even, you know, even if they appreciate you, at some point they will become jealous of you, so they're gonna hate on you anyway. So just keep on doing your thing, and something that you really like, of course, because what I find with my style, you know, is that because I'm not following any scene, I'm not even a purist of sounds, so you will never get like a very, you know, just tech house defined or deep house defined track. I do my own thing. If I have my own creativity or my own ideas on how I should make my tracks, then I just go and do it, and I don't give a good old fat shit of you know, all the other people's opinions. Of course, I'd love to have as many people as possible on my tracks and, you know, appreciating them. But I think you're gonna get them with the time if you are just true to yourself and in a way making what you really like and what you really feel is good. Because, you know, I find more and more producers just, you know, producing for you know, the sake of looking cool or just hanging out with the cool crew or charting on Beatport or whatever. For me, I'm not sure this is really important nowadays. Most of all because, you know, like, you have to do this job for passion, and I think that people is not stupid. Even when you play, if you faking it, if you're playing something that you are not really feeling, I like to think that people is not stupid and they really understand that you're just doing something for business. Sometimes not, but you know, that's life. I mean, this is my point of view. I get a lot of criticism about my style because it's not in that. It's impossible to be jailed. You know, you can't say electro house or I'm tech house or my house or deep house or whatever, or my indie. Now I'm indie. I don't know. I just do what I like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, in my head, I still have like a fil rouge, you know, with all my productions. So for me, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, excellent advice. And yeah, but I think that's about all we got time for. So yeah, let's give a quick round of applause for Riva.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, man. It's fantastic. And also, just to say before we go, make sure you head over to the blog, to Point Blank Plus, to check out all of the previous masterclasses and any forthcoming stuff we've got as well. And also head over to pointblankonline.net or pointblanklondon.com and check out all of the courses on offer. And that's it from us here. We'll see you again. Next broadcast is on Friday. We've got a producer in the house for Friday Forum. And that's it. Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, I didn't show you my secret weapon. Sorry. That's a funny thing. Okay, I never start a session without my headless Maradona. So if you manage to find one, that's pretty helpful, you know, for tight and punchy mixes. That's it.
And on that note, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Ciao.